All right, guys,
Let's go, Cody.
welcome to the Freedom Pact podcast.
Thank you, Lewis. We're honoured to be here. Excuse us eating porridge. We're just
Pair of Irish lads can't get enough of it.
Oh, I love it. And just for the audience who are watching now, what are you eating currently? Let's make sure you're on brand.
Porridge with some flakes, some flaxseed, and a bit of oat milk.
There we go. That's now the official Freedom Pact breakfast from here on out. I love it. I recently watched your guys. I think you might be 10 years old now, but your TED talk, and
that was, I think, our first time public speaking.
Oh man, I loved it. Characters, man, characters. You talk about, like, before this whole journey started, that you described yourself as a couple of meatheads, and that your definition of success was really money and material based. How have you sort of redefined your version of success now, and what does it mean to you now as opposed to what it meant to you maybe 15 years ago?
Well, I think now I'm jumping in quick because I know he was about to say. I was going to say now I think it's more about the inner journey and about inner freedom and inner calm and inner peace, and much less about all the external things like money and fame and sex or those type of things that you might kind of think that, you know, are going to make you happy. Or a big house or big car.
We just turned 41, and I guess as we've matured, maybe our definition of success has changed. I think that's the nature of life. And when we were younger, maybe in our early 20s, we defined, I remember I did a degree and a master's in business, and business is all about money and cash and turnover, and I'm a consultant, I'm an investment banker, and all this type of stuff was kind of heralded and celebrated. So back then, money was definitely one of the key drivers of determining success. And it was only, I guess, through a journey of exploring life. When we were 21, as you mentioned, we were meatheads. We were playing semi-pro rugby. We were very into golf.
I played off scratch and we were good at golf, you know.
And we were very much focused on the American dream, as in materialism, and the more of material possessions you have and the more successful you are. And it was only through, we went away traveling. I remember myself, I was feeling, one December, I was just feeling hollow, a bit empty, wasn't quite, I don't know, I just felt there has to be more to life. This feels quite shallow. This just, retrospectively, I can define it a lot better, but in the moment, it was like, I don't know, I just feel crap, and I want to go away, and I'm not coming back until I'm happy, and I know what I'm interested in, and I'm getting a one-way ticket. So, like being like twins, we'd lived very closely together all our lives, so we were very dependent on each other, and you naturally had this cocoon, this support cocoon always. So it was big for us to have a divorce and to go away separate traveling, and it was through that journey of traveling, it gave both of us separately the opportunity to redefine who we were and experiment with our own conditioning. Like, because growing up, we were kind of told by teachers and, you know, society that if you have a fancy job and you have a nice house and you're married, oh, you're doing great, congratulations, aren't you wonderful? And it was only through traveling it gave us that opportunity to kind of, I remember arriving in Whistler and going, okay, I've always been the jock and I've always been like the party boy. I think I'm going to be a hippie this time, and just see what it's like being a hippie. And do I feel more myself? And I kind of did that over a period of a year, 2 years, like really seeing where I felt comfortable. And it was through that journey that I found I was much more, we were both independently more interested in health, happiness, and community.
And even spirituality as well. That was the first time we got into meditation. Like, even I'm part of that kind of 2 year wandering around the world journey of self-discovery. Remember at the very start of it, Dad had just, this is like 2000, Dad had just been at a Tony Robbins seminar in Miami. And we were, Miami, was it? I think it was Miami. Wow. And I remember he called us up. I don't know where we were in the world, or maybe sent us an email. It was 2000, and he said, I just went and saw this really big, tall man, and it was an amazing weekend. He said, if you can get yourself to New York, I'll pay for your thing. So it was like, all right, so we go. So this is just at the start. We went and we did our Tony Robbins weekend.
In New York,
which was great fun. Like, it was really super fun.
Razzmatazz and shows, and
you can have anything, you can be anything and whatever. And then straight after that, we went to a Vipassana, you know, those 10-day silent retreat centers.
Yeah.
So we went straight to a Vipassana meditation
where there's
center.
no talk and you're meditating 12 hours a day. It was
10-day silent retreat, 14 hours a day meditation. And we ended up living there for like 2 months. And so it went from one extreme of like, you can have it all, you can be it all, whoa, like super high energy, to like, whoa, you know, nothing, like just you're left alone slaying demons in a meditation center.
Your internal demons.
Internal demons. And I guess that kind of awoke a kind of an interest in spirituality. And like spirituality, that word is like, it's got loads of baggage, but really it's about having a bit more peace and being happier in your own skin, that you're not dependent on having a big car or a big house, that you're happy regardless
or
of
getting a job or getting
and
a deal.
not to say we've solved it, but that's
our latest focus.
Yeah, it's our latest kind of intro. Not latest, it's been there for about 20 years.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, Tony Robbins, yeah, that is one extreme to another. I mean, I remember watched his Netflix special going back 2 years ago, and he warms up like jumping on a trampoline before coming on the stage. He's jumping around. He's, you know, really loud, like you said, razzmatazz guy. And then you go from one extreme to the other. What did you find in terms of benefits were the main difference between almost just that high-end energy and then that stillness, that calm?
I think the higher energy was really exciting, and it was very alluring, and it was all set on kind of future goals that you wanted to achieve, which was quite stark contrast with the meditation. It was all about accepting now and finding peace within yourself, because it's very easy in society to kind of, when I get the job, when I get the car, when this pandemic is over, when this lockdown, when I go on holidays, then I'm going to be happy. It's so easy to get caught up in this mindset and through having to sit silently, like on your own, and not talk and not have a phone and not have anything, and just sit and have to deal with your, like, unbox your crap,
all the discomfort,
all the discomfort and all the restlessness. It kind of made you find that kind of, like, at moments where you just found a little bit more sense of ease in yourself, and it was quite euphoric. I remember coming out after 10 days and talking and finding myself getting drunk on talking. Like, it was just like, oh my God, oh my God, I don't think I've ever experienced. I feel like I've taken God knows what.
We move over there,
but it was, yeah. So I think it was quite a stark contrast, but you know, very enriching in other ways.
Your story goes that as twins, you're living on opposite ends of the world. You both start this plant-based diet within a week of each other. Now, I've spoken to a lot of plant-based advocates on this podcast, like authors like Dr. Michael Greger, who wrote How Not to Die, Dr. Neil Bernard, who's a very renowned plant-based researcher. So for you personally, what was the draw? Was it something external? Was it something internal? What was the draw to a plant-based lifestyle?
I think it was like, it came before, like, I think we embraced a plant-based vegan diet in about 2001. And I think the seeds were kind of sown before that. Like, I'd say even as we were late teens, late teens, I remember, like, you know, you'd go out drinking, you'd spend €50 or £50, maybe it was back then, getting drunk on a Friday night. And then the next day, you wouldn't have money to buy lunch. You wouldn't have money to buy a €3 pack of blueberries. And it just seemed so out of sync that here I was trying to prioritize my health because I wanted to feel good. It was more how to actually feel better and happier in my own skin. And I found, like, living for the weekend was hollow. That kind of, it just didn't make me, I found it was leading me further away from myself. And that kind of giving up drink and becoming more aware of the inputs and what food affects my energy and all those various things. And I think True started reading books in terms of, Steve wants to say something there.
Oh yeah. And even to tell a little story, I remember we were 20 or 21. And a friend, Tommy Kelly, was turning 40. And he said, lads, I'd love you to do a marathon with me just to celebrate my 40. It was like, great, game ball, Tommy. And we signed up and didn't really think of it. And we just finished university, and Mom didn't think we'd finish it. She was amazed and delighted with us. So she bought us a ticket to go interrailing, which was a pass where you could go travel via Europe or across Europe on the trains. And we were, as we mentioned, meatheads and loved getting drunk. So we went and got drunk for a month around Europe. We forgot to train. And we came back in October, and the marathon was at the end of October. So we had 30 days, and it was like, geez, we really should do some training for this marathon. Like, we haven't run it all. And at the time, a friend had heard this word detox, and it wasn't in the modern day dialect. The internet was only just coming out. I didn't know, no one knew what a detox was. It was something weird. So we went down to the library and asked, do you have a book on detox? And they said, no, we don't have one, but I think they have one in Dublin. We'll get it for you. It'll be here in a week. It's like, great. So we went down a week later and got the book, and we were reading through it. It was like, Jesus says brown bread. Okay, okay, we're giving up. We're kind of mostly going to eat vegetables and work out what these lentil things are.
Brown bread instead of white bread.
And no booze. So we did it for the month before the marathon, and it was, you know, felt weird and it was different and it was hard, but we felt, for some weird reason, I kind of felt more myself. And we did the marathon, it went great. And the marathon was the end of October, and we kind of 2 months till Christmas. It was like, geez, I don't know, Dave, I feel kind of good. We tried to do it till Christmas. So we did it till Christmas, and then we were having this big meeting of lads. So we went to an all boys school, played a lot of rugby. The lads were like your pack. And we were going and meeting them. I remember it was in Planet Hollywood. Yeah. We were going to go have a rake of pints. And I remember going up, and one of the lads bought a pint for me. Come on, Flinner, you're back on it. It was great, really exciting. He handed me the pint, and I took the pint, and I took a sip out of it, and then I went, this doesn't feel right anymore. And I kind of put it down, didn't finish it, and left early, like a pair of whatever. But something that kind of changed in us. And I guess that was the start of that journey to explore health and how it affected us and how we felt ourselves. And I think the more we explored it, that what you eat is such a crossroads to so many aspects of your life, because it's very easy in modern day society to feel disenfranchised, disempowered, political system, the environment. But one thing that kind of unites us all is the food we consume, and to be more conscious of it can impact so many things. So the more we found out about it, the more it's like, yeah, Jesus makes sense.
But ultimately it came from a selfish reason of kind of going, hey, I want to feel better. I want to have more energy. And I guess following our own nose, we ended up starting adopting a plant-based diet.
And it kind of like, in a weird way, it was kind of like, I wonder if I like eat. I remember in Whistler, in this kind of cool mountain resort, and I remember eating this chili that had 10 different types of vegetables in it. And I remember eating it for lunch and going, geez, when are these going to kick in? Like, when am I going to be getting superpowers? Like, hey, vegetables. You know, this type of thing. We were so ignorant to it.
Yeah, and I remember in college going to a vegetarian, like I was 19 at the time. I remember going to a vegetarian restaurant and having a vegetarian lunch and thinking, oh my God, I'm going to have so much energy all afternoon. And I guess like that was the kind of naivety.
And we were even curious. Like,
but then, can I say one thing? I was just going to say that
whole, excited. Sorry, Lewis.
That whole journey kind of kept going in terms of like seeing how you could optimize your diet in terms of energy and all these various things. And I guess it ended up, we adopted a plant-based diet and like a vegan diet and then a raw food diet, and then got into fasting and cleansing. And I remember doing a 7-day fast in Costa Rica. And I remember I'd met all these people, and they were like, I was hanging out with this guy who was trying to be a breatharian. And I wanted to see, like, it was all trying to see how far you could push your health and how it affected your internal mood and your energy levels. And I remember doing a 7-day water fast on the beach by myself, it was really hard. Like, it was tough. And I remember afterwards I was like, okay, I want to see if I can do a 30-mile road race without training, having done a 7-day water fast. And I remember going doing it, and I did it fine. I didn't win it in any sense, but I managed to do it, which was quite interesting to see, just to test the body.
It's interesting you talk about that detox and, going from one diet to another and feeling that difference. And, it makes me wonder, over the past year, I've tried to talk to everyone on the spectrum from vegan to these carnivore guys, right? And I spoke to, a quite renowned figure who, passionately talked about the carnivore diet. Now, I didn't end up releasing the episode because the science I just thought wasn't there when he was talking to me about this carnivore diet. I couldn't buy into what he was saying. I didn't see any actual research behind it, so I didn't release the episode because I didn't think it'd be right. But for you guys, when you think to those people who have that argument of, the opposite approach to yourself, only eat meat, what would you say to those people that are, following that diet? Is that detrimental to their health, would you think?
Well, I think like what we've learned is when we first kind of changed to plant-based diet, we were very evangelical and quite fascist. And I guess as we've matured, we've been eating now a plant-based diet for 20 years, you kind of soften with it a lot. And I kind of say to them, well, good on you, whatever makes you happy. Health is multifaceted. Like everyone knows a granny who's lived to the age of 90 and drank whiskey, didn't eat a vegetable in her life, smoked 20 pack of cigarettes and loved gambling. But she probably had a lot of love in her life, a strong family around her, great sense of purpose and a lot of laughter and joy. So I think health is multifaceted. However, I would also say, the research is pretty clear in the blue zones and many other, research saying that the more whole foods you can eat, not necessarily vegan or vegetarian, but the more whole foods you can eat, the more beneficial it is to your physical health. And that would be what I'd really say. But I'd kind of tell them whatever. you know, do your best. That's grand.
But it wouldn't, like, I guess going head on against people now, like previously, if you'd asked us 10 years ago, it would have been, oh my God, they're diet of the saturated fat and they're affecting their blood flows and they're, you know, if they're males, they're going to be heading towards erectile dysfunction at some stage. And oh my God, blah, blah, blah. But it's like everyone's body's different. I don't know. Like certainly for us, we found a plant-based vegan diet has been highly effective. And the same with, like we've had, I think 50,000 people through our courses all across the world, which are all a whole food plant-based diet. And they tend to get really, really good results. So
I guess we've seen it firsthand, like with our own direct research with these courses. So I guess we've seen the impact and the benefits on people's health. And even we've recently done it to like 75 doctors in Devon and medical experts. We've done a huge variety. And I guess we've seen ourselves the benefit, but you know, it's not necessarily about being vegan or vegetarian. We're all going to die anyway, but it's about doing our best.
And I think it's about optimizing towards whole foods, as in fruit, veg, beans, legumes, whole grains, nuts and seeds, and to try to make the vast majority of what you eat out of them. And if you're gonna eat carnivore stuff for the rest of it, you know, I don't know, everyone's got to find their own balance, what's right for them, and we'll all come to different things at different stages. So
when I've done episodes like this in the past, a lot of emails I seem to get are from young guys, maybe in their 20s, you know, they go into the gym 6 days a week. They're trying to look aesthetic, you know, trying to get that body for the women. And they're saying, look, I see the benefits of, you know, plant-based diet, but I need to get my 8 chicken breasts in a day. You know, I can't get the protein in. What would you say are some initial steps then for someone who maybe, you know, hasn't got it in their goals to go completely vegan, but wants to start introducing a bit of plant-based into their diet to get the benefits from that, whilst maintaining their, you know, their protein intake
or whatever?
Yeah, I'd say start, you know, baby steps. Just start introducing more fruit and veg. And if it is protein you're concerned about, you know, if you look at the blue zones, about 50% of their diet was typically based around legumes and pulses. So try to introduce some more beans, some lentils. They're a good protein source. Nuts and seeds if you're worried, you know, if you want to kind of have a higher protein content. But baby steps, you know, start slowly. It's not an all or nothing thing and you eat a piece of chicken and you're off the team. Like,
but I'd be saying like tofus and tempehs, they're great sources of protein. Obviously you're gonna have to be consuming lots of them, but you like back when we played semi-pro rugby, we were like buff and big meat, has big massive necks and 6-packs and whatever, and we were about 85 kilos, and roll on 20 years later, we're still 85 kilos after 20 years in a vegan diet. I still have 6% body fat, like, so still lean. Like, I think the hardest bit is putting on muscle is like, it's reasonably straightforward. It's the getting lean bit that's hard to get your definition of abs if you're into aesthetics. And a vegan diet is more efficient, I would think, in terms of it's naturally low in calories, it's high in fiber, and it's a lot easier to get that leanness, that's the challenging bit. You'll often see people that have big aesthetic arms and they have a big chest, but it's this bit here that can be most challenging to get the muscle definition.
I was gonna say, you guys look like, you know, you're in good shape. You look like you train, you're active. What have you noticed? And you said you played at a high level before you were on this diet. What have you noticed in terms of how your diet now affects your energy levels? Does it, you know, enable you to train better? Does it enable you to be more active when you're on a plant-based diet? What does it do for energy, do you think?
Yeah, I think it's more efficient. Like the holy grail in terms of athletic performance is being able to recover quicker. And certainly if you think of the most important thing for recovery is oxygen, you know, oxygen really enhances recovery. It improves blood flow and all the various things. So a plant-based diet is naturally higher in oxygen. Like that's where, you know, oxygen is our main fuel source. And then you got water and then you got food, and all plant-based foods are naturally higher in water and they're naturally higher in oxygen. So they're going to oxygenate your body better. They have minimal amount of resistance in as well. Like ultimately it's about, if you think of an engine of a car, you want it to be as efficient as it can be in terms of, you want as little kind of blockages along your engine, and the human body is the exact same. Our highways of nerves and arteries, you want them to function. You want the blood flow to flow extremely well so that it's getting all the nutrients and the oxygen to every cell in your body. And a plant-based diet really has minimal amounts of saturated fats. And, you know, if you're trying to eat unprocessed, like, you know, now about 55% of all calories in the UK are ultra processed foods. So if you can start embracing eating more whole plant foods, your engine's going to function better, you know.
You mentioned fasting earlier on.
Yeah.
Now, I've spoken to Dr. David Sinclair, who's like the world's leader in into longevity research. A lot of people will know he is from his episode on Joe Rogan, and he talked about fasting a lot on there. When he spoke to me, he talked about the benefits of it being, if you go on a 3-4 day fast, your body starts turning on these defense switches, and ultimately that leads to better longevity and your body on the whole. But I wonder, what are your experiences with fasting? When did you first try it? How long have you done it for? And what did you notice right away? Was it good for you or was it bad?
Yeah, so I guess over the years we've done lots of fasting, kind of from 5 days to 7-day water fast, 3-day ones. And for a number of years I was fasting 1 day a week, always on a Tuesday. And I found it very, even on a spiritual note, it kind of made me more aware of my food, how much of my thoughts and how much of my day revolved around the act of eating, and how much it was such a distraction. And it also kind of, you don't have as much energy to expend externally, so your energy is more internally focused. And I found it very reflective. I found it very beneficial for my health, in that it kind of gave my body the opportunity of the energy that it was spending on digesting food. It had this energy to kind of, do some more repair work or do some more cleaning work or, maintenance work. So I found it very beneficial in many ways. In recent years, I guess I have 3 kids now and we have a busy business, so I haven't been doing as much fasting, but something that I think was phenomenally beneficial for us.
You haven't done it in about 10 years.
I haven't done it about 10 years, if I'm really honest, but I often intend to get back to it, but
I find there's like cycles in life, and there's almost like seasons. And back before kids, we had all the time to indulge all these, being a raw food diet and getting into fasting and cleansing and all that kind of stuff, and then
meditating 2 hours a day,
and you had all those times to do those things. But then having kids, it's been harder to
make time.
Yeah, there's priorities, and kids are more important than 1 day fast a week, because you're constantly balancing, and with every decision you make there's negative, there's consequences of everything. So the last 10 years fasting hasn't really been on the agenda, just because you're prioritizing other things. But I find it really beneficial in terms of sharpening my mind, and it is like, there's Steve mentioned the word spiritual, which sounds like, as I said, it's a loaded word. People have kind of go, oh, fucking spiritual, woo woo, whatever. So it just makes you more aware of your own, as Stephen said, how much we use food as an emotional crutch, that I feel like crap, I'll just go get something to eat, that's going to make me feel better or whatnot. So it forces you to become more aware of that, as well as the longevity things. I think I'd read all sorts of books on it when we got into it.
When I mentioned in our newsletter that you guys were coming on, the one word we got back, everyone was asking about this superfood idea. Now, there's a guy who I read a book on recently. He's called Darren O'Lean. He wrote a book called Super Life. I noticed he follows you guys on Instagram as well, which is pretty cool. He's a bit of a rock star of this world. And he's known as the superfood guy, and everyone's become obsessed with the word. I think his superfood is the baruka nut. He reckons it's the most dense, nutrient dense food in the world. But for you guys then, since people were requesting your answer for this one, what would you both say are your maybe top 3 to top 5 superfoods in terms of nutritional benefit?
So I'd say laughter, community, and joy. I'd say those 3, if I'm really honest, because I think in our experience of having spent like a decade, like really, like, so we've had, at the moment we've had 4 cafes, we've 50 products in about 1,000 stores, we've written 5 best-selling cookbooks, and we've kind of spent the best part of 15, 16 years like really digging into food, and like food, like we have a farm, so we grow food, we roast coffee, we have a bakery, sourdough bakery. We're really, we grow like microgreens, so like sprouts, so some of the most nutritious foods, from wheatgrass, pea shoots, sunflower shoots, alfalfa, fenugreek, carrot sprouts, all these. So we've really looked under this rock, and I'm not saying like it's a comprehensive, but we spent the best part of 15 years exploring it. In our experience, there's no perfect with food. And if you're sitting eating a kale salad going, I hate fucking kale, like that's not good for you. Like, have the pizza, have the beer, have the chocolate. Like, I think superfood, like I remember, even to give an anecdotal story, I remember we were on TV back in the early days, and we were doing a kind of series on juices, and I remember we were doing wheatgrass, because we had a wheatgrass farm, and we were taking a lot of wheatgrass, and our brother was doing triathlons for Ireland at the national level, competing. And he found wheatgrass to be very beneficial for kind of recovery and for just getting more micronutrients into him. And I remember we were doing a little piece on TV about it, and I'm saying how good it was and how beneficial. I remember a guy kind of comes into the shop the next day, like hobbles in, like just bent over and in bits. And he was saying, so this is going to cure me arthritis, cure me dodgy back, and fix me wrist. Just this one shot
for $250. For
$250. So, and I can go home and drink. I can go home and drink me whiskey and have me cigarettes and eat whatever I want. And it's like, that's the bit that bothers me about superfoods, is that people tend to believe it's one magic bullet. Like, that's what we're all looking for life right now. Even the pandemic, and I'm not saying the vaccination is bad, but we're all looking for this vaccination is going to cure us.
And I think it's a greater representation of all of us in life are looking for hacks. We're looking for, if I bought Bitcoin 5 years ago, then I wouldn't have to work ever again. And then I've made it. And what is the magic bullet in all these aspects of life? And I think ultimately, like, you know, we all have to stand alone and look in the mirror and be happy with ourselves. And I think superfoods is part of that same. You asked what is success, and I think superfood, we're looking for a hack. It's like each effect, you know, like if I ask my 7-year-old daughter, Izzy, what do I do to be healthy? She'll say, oh, well, I should probably eat less sweets and less chocolate bars and eat more vegetables and eat more fruit, and I should go to bed early. You like, we all know these things. It's just hard to do them.
So to answer the question more directly, my 3 superfoods: laughter, joy, community, friendship. Your 3?
Well, now you've kind of thrown me in it. You've kind of moved the goalpost. I don't think I'm going to get that smart.
Okay.
I'm going to go with my, you know, I think it's
sleep, meditation, or anything that brings you back to the present moment.
Okay, I'll go with those ones. Yeah.
No. Brand.
A big thing on this topic. Now we've done entire episodes on this topic, but everyone seems to be, you know, obsessed lately with this idea of gut health. You know, we've spoken to Dr. Will Bolshevitz, who's written an entire book on gut health. And for those listening, this is not me trying to give you a shameless plug, because I know you have a healthy gut course, but I'll put the link to that in the description, by the way. But what have you noticed between the relationship between food and gut health, and what would you say are the main benefits of a healthy gut and how it affects the body?
Yeah, I was going to say that. So we've got 6 online courses, and the most popular one has been the Happy Gut course, like Healthy Gut course. We've had more than 20,000 people through it, and it's with a gastroenterologist and a dietitian. And the whole idea was,
gastroenterologist for you listening.
Great question, Stephen. Gastroenterologist is a gut doctor, so it's like a doctor that specializes in the gut. So we originally kind of had these ideas that eating fruit and veg is healthier for you, and it's like, okay, well, how do we put these to the test? And we started seeing how it affected in terms of heart health, and it worked incredibly well, reduced cholesterol and whatever.
Even tell that story.
Okay, can I tell a story?
Of course you can.
And I'll come back to the gut thing. Yeah, it was back 10 years ago. We had a cafe and a veg shop, and I used to work in the vegetable shop, and he used to cook in the cafe, and it was lovely old days. And back then we were evangelicals of vegetables, getting people to eat more veg. And it was like, I remember one woman came in one day and she said, now, geez, I lost 4 stone on Weight Watchers in 2 months. You'd never believe it. I'm like, oh my God, that's incredible. And Steve says, I wonder, like, you know, can we do some experiment to see if, like, putting a plant-based diet to the challenge? It's like, okay, great. And I was reading this book by Dr. Dean Ornish, who was an incredible doctor who showed in clinical trials you could reverse the indicators for heart disease, which is the biggest killer in the world. I was like, and I'm reading this book, and Steve goes, I wonder, could we do that in Ireland in 4 weeks? It's like, oh, great idea, Steve. I love it. Brilliant. So it was like, oh, here, come on, we got a break. Let's get down to the doctor and see if we can get a nurse. So we knock on the doctor's door, and we're like, how are you, Brian? Where are the lads in Happy Pear? Do you know any nurses? And he says, yeah, Angela lives 3 doors up. So I knock on Angela's door, and it was like, lo and behold, Angela was there. How are you, Angela? Where are the lads in Happy Pear? We're wondering, we want to run an experiment. We want to put vegetables to the test, and we need a nurse. Will you help us? And she said, I will, lads. Just back off. Go away. I will. Okay. So Angela was up for helping us. And we put signs up around the shop, and we said, reverse heart disease, skinny, sexy, delicious, free. And we had 20 people sign up. And we didn't know it was going to work. This is back in 2010. And they came along, the 20 people came along, unsuspecting guinea pigs. They came along to our experiment, and Angela measured everyone's cholesterol, weight, and blood pressure. And then they came upstairs to us, and we were chefs, and we were vegetable greengrocer men. So we were all about getting people to eat more fruit and veg. So it was getting people they were all meat and 2 veg people. It was like, right, we put on videos of men and women in white coats, like doctors, just to give it a bit of validity. And then we got them to taste lots of foods, and we were encouraging them to eat porridge for breakfast and vegetable soups and nice salads and pad thais and chilies and dals. And it was a lot of getting people to taste things. They're like, oh, this tastes nice. Okay.
Those lentil things are
they're
mad.
not bad. They're
nice.
not bad. And I remember, and it was for 4 weeks. They came once a week to us upstairs, and it was like vegetable AA. And lo and behold, it came to the last week, and we didn't know it was going to work.
And we were really nervous. We were kind of like, if this doesn't work, this undermines all our belief system. We're going to get a new job.
This was before any Netflix documentaries or anything. So it was, and it was before real social media taking off. So we ended up getting an average drop of cholesterol of 20%. Everyone's blood pressure regulated. Everyone lost weight, and it was a really incredible experience. And on the back of that, we ended up got lots of media attention. The courses got busier and busier, so we decided, let's build an online one. And we built an online one. We thought it was going to, this was back in 2011. We thought it was going to cost us like €5,000 and it'd take us 6 weeks. It took us 2 years and it cost us more than 100 grand. And back then in 2011, people didn't like putting their credit card into the internet. So it didn't really work. Like, it didn't work for years. It was just sitting there on the internet. And then as things grew on and on, we ended up becoming friends.
We
ended up becoming friends with lots of doctors. And one of them said, well, why don't we build a gut course? And see
Dr. Alan Desmond, the consultant.
Consultant gastroenterologist. He said, let's build a gut course and see what happens. And he thought it might be effective for IBS, which is bloating and whatnot. And we've now, as I said, in the last 2 years, we've had more than 20,000 people through the course, even more, I'd say now. And it's been really effective for IBD and Crohn's and all sorts of digestive issues. And the whole thing is, if you've got digestive issues, a lot of people have put you on a low FODMAP diet, which is low in fermentable carbohydrates that kind of cause bloating, which are all vegetables like garlic and onion and beans and, think fart food. People might think of it as fart food. And if you cut that out, you give they're really healthy. They're fantastically healthy. But for certain people that have irritable bowels or just inflamed bowels, it just gives the bowel time to get used to it. But the basis of the course is just all about getting people to eat lots of fiber and plant-based foods, and it's been hugely effective.
It's amazing where you meet people, like even meeting this girl called Anya back recently down in Waterford. She said, I couldn't really leave my house. If I ever left my house, I had to know where a toilet was. I was like, I could only eat 5 foods my whole life. And she was in her early 20s, and she said, through doing the course, my relationship with food has changed. I'm a fully functioning human. And she was crying. When you meet lots of these people that literally are crying with emotion, going, my life has changed. I've been to see all sorts of people, but I didn't realize how just eating, how big an impact my diet has. Because if you think about the gut, I'm sure you probably know this from having talked to other doctors, but for anyone listening, and this is we're not gastroenterologists or scientists, but we've kind of learned all this over the last while, that we all have this microbiome, which is a collection of all these bacteria and microorganisms. So tiny little organisms in our gut, and they weigh about 2 kilos, and there's seemingly about 100 trillion cells. So we've got about 10 trillion human cells, and we've got 100 trillion bacteria. So we've got we're host to this incredible community within our gut. And this community, the most important thing in terms of having them feeling really healthy is giving them lots of fiber. That's what cultivates the healthy strains of it. And as I said previously, there's more than 50% of the calories that we're all eating in the Western developed world are ultra processed foods, which don't feel the healthy strains. They feed the ill healthy strains. And we're now finding there's a massive link. Science is now, even through the SMILES research, that there's this huge link between mental health in terms of gut, our gut, the various different bacterial communities that we have in our gut, and our mental health, our emotions, our moods, as well as our digestion and energy levels. 70% of our immune system is in our gut. Anyway, we're kind of ranting. But,
yeah.
But I guess we've seen the benefit of people eating more plant-based and how beneficial it is for the gut. And anyone listening who has tried to eat vegetables and have found they've inflamed their gut, try a low FODMAP approach. We have lots of free recipes on our YouTube channel, and just try it.
Yeah, there must be about 30 or 40 of them there.
Yeah, so check them out. They're free.
Amazing. I love it, guys. Now, we've talked a lot about plant-based diets, and that obviously is a big part of your lifestyle. But I think one of you mentioned meditation earlier in passing. I want to know, what are some of the other things that you try to be conscious of to live a happy and healthy life? Could be, doubling down on the science of sleep. Could be meditation. Could be mindfulness. Could be philosophy. What things do you try and stay conscious of outside of your diet?
Yeah, I think, and it's probably less about being conscious of it, because these things have become habits. The way when things are habits, it's just how you do. And I know, like I'll look through Instagram just like anyone else, and you might look at people on all these fancy holidays and at fancy parties and all these different things. You go, oh my God, well, what's that life? And our lives are kind of almost like, you know, they're very simple, very simple. I go to bed, like we don't sleep in the same bed or the same house. We're both a separate house and separate families, but we both go to bed at around 9, half 9. So that's early. And I get up usually around somewhere between 5 and 6 every morning. And, you know, like I go to the same bed at the same time as my kids. My kids laugh at me. They're like, Daddy goes to bed at 9 o'clock. Like they, but that's what makes me feel good. Like my mental health is better. I would try to meditate. Recently, I've got right back into it again. I read a really good book, which just inspired me and reminded me of how important it is. And I'm kind of trying to do half an hour in the morning and around half an hour in the evening as well, as much as I can, because I just find it makes me more, it makes me less concerned about what's happening outside of myself and more kind of focused on how I'm reacting to the world. So those are two things.
Yeah, and I'd say one of the biggest things for me is community. And I think it's something that in modern day society, it's become a bit of an epidemic in lots of ways, is the lack of community, the lack of connection, the lack of, like, we're all connected digitally more so than ever, but mental health issues are as high as they've ever been. At least they're being measured nowadays. But I think it's the importance of that face-to-face community, those people that, and obviously it's quite hard now during the middle of a pandemic, but the more we can have that sense of a tribe, that sense of people who we belong to and see us, and where we're not putting on a, yeah, I'm really happy, yeah, I'm doing great, oh, life is so good, where you can actually go, I feel shit today, and they go, yeah, me too, you know, let's have a cup of tea and a chat about it. And that sense of, that's that type of sense of, you know, when you're not there, they actually miss you because you belong as part of their tribe. And I think the more we can cultivate that as a society, the more beneficial it is to be healthier and happier. And I know,
and when you do, I think the funny thing is that when you do have these basic physiological needs, such as you really do have a strong, thriving community, then maybe what you eat is, you know, the way you were asking the perfect superfood, like, and you were kind of joking, kind of facetiously joking and saying joy and laughter and community. When you do have a life that's overflowing with lovely people, you do have a lot of joy and you do have a lot of laughter. Your immune system is already fucking thriving. You have so much purpose. You've got all these people around you that what you eat obviously has an impact, but probably to a lesser degree than someone who's lonely and isolated and by themselves and eating kale sandwiches and not feeling very happy, you know? So I think there's so many aspects of health, and we went off.
Yeah, I think community is so important. And for anyone listening who kind of goes, it's very easy for you lads, you live by the sea and you're very privileged, and I acknowledge all that. But simple things that you can do to cultivate community, say hello to your neighbors. It's amazing. We're all, you often tell a little story that, you know, that we're all insecure three-year-olds.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I was just going to say that we forget about it, that, you know, underneath, we're all trying to get recognition in this world, and lots of us have different strategies. Like, I have nice hair and I have nice white teeth and I have a big job and I have a fancy car.
I'm very intelligent. I have abs.
I'm very good looking and whatever. And all these strategies are strategies for acceptance and to, you know, to be seen in the world and kind of go, you're great, I love you, you know. And really, if you think about it, underneath all our strategies, we all want to be accepted, we all want to be acknowledged, and we all want to be told, geez, you're a great lad. You're a Lewis, you're a smasher, you're such a lovely lad. So if you think about it, that underneath all of us is this invisible sign that says, please love me, I'm worthy. And that's something to remember, that every single person out there, no matter how tough or hard or whatever, we're all insecure little 3-year-olds in adults' bodies.
Yeah, you often tell the story that when we go down to the playground, we have 5 kids, not together, but between us. And when I bring the kids down to the playground, they just run straight up to someone and start playing and go, hi, can I be your friend? And they go, yeah. And then when we're leaving, they go, can Johnny come over to play? And I go, who's Johnny? Oh, he's my new best friend. And they've made a friend. And it's like that. Whereas nowadays, you meet someone at a party and it's like, hello, what do you do? And you're measuring them up and you're seeing how they relate to you in terms of the pecking order.
And you don't want to, but really underneath it all, we all want friendship, we all want connection. And really, as you were back to what you were saying, was to say hello to your neighbors, to start just saying hello, because every relationship starts somewhere, and it starts with a hi. It starts with I made some banana breads and there's a little bit left over. Would you like a banana bread? Like during the, you know, all through Corona, me and the kids have been baking stuff and we dropped some up to the neighbors and whatnot.
It's a great opportunity to meet your neighbors. Other things that we found, my daughter on her 9th birthday, we got her a dog. And I think dogs are amazing at, or having a pet, like, as we'd be out walking with Daisy, and typically we walk past another dog and an owner, and they'd stop the dogs to go and sniff each other. and then you'd be standing by the person, and you know, you can have an awkward conversation. What's your dog called? Oh, it's a lovely dog. And you know, it's an easy way to start a conversation. And before you know it, you've made a friend, and you walk the same time every night. And how are you, Johnny? How are you, Johnny? And community starts to build.
And I think what they're saying now is, like, typically most people have family. We have brothers or sisters or mothers or fathers or cousins. We have some form of family. And then hopefully most of us have one or two or a number of close friends who you can talk to when there's something going on. And what they're saying now is that those loose connections where you know people's names, you don't really know that much about them, but they're these loose connections that form your community, that these are really, really important, that you can walk down the road and say, how are you, Pat? You don't really know much about Pat, but it's important to say, oh, the weather's good. You see the match? Oh, brilliant, wasn't it? Those little things make it. And you walk, oh, how are you, Mary? How's it going? Oh, lovely day. Yeah. And those kind of things are really important to that sense of community. And I think that's really important. And we've gone way off topic. I can't even remember your question.
Oh, I love it, man. As we start to wind down, I've been reading a lot over the last year or two about Stoic philosophy. And one of the big things they talk about is purpose. Now, purpose building into happiness and making your life worth living. So for me, my example would be, you know, if I put out an episode of this podcast and, you know, even if one person comes back to me and says it's helped them in some way, I can go to sleep at night happy knowing I've impacted someone's life in a positive way. And that makes my life worth living then. So if I come to each of you for the Happy Pear, what makes a life worth living?
Great question.
Nice. First question has been stillness for a second.
A life worth living. Like, I think every life is worth living. I genuinely do. And I think each one of us has a purpose that's deep inside of ourselves. And it starts with people go, oh my God, purpose. That's such a big thing. Like, I haven't found my purpose. I'm 40. What should I do? And I think I'll come back to my own one, but I think it starts with curiosities. That purpose is a huge, big thing, but I think it starts with where your curiosity's at. Like, what are you curious? What books do you pick up in the bookshop? What type of movies do you watch? And these are little breadcrumbs to what I think your ultimate purpose is. And when I think back to us, what's our purpose as the Happy Pear? It's always been the same thing. It's about trying to inspire people to eat more fruit and veg, trying to inspire people to live a happier, healthier life, to build community, to have a laugh, to like remember the simple things in life, like, are so enriching. And all of those type of things just really give me a huge sense of purpose.
And I think purpose is such a big thing, and it's really, it's difficult.
There's pressure with it.
Yeah, there's
expectation.
Yeah, and I think for anyone listening,
and there's commitment. My purpose in life is X, Y, Z. Insert
and it
fill in
does,
the blank.
It does change. I've noticed with myself as I mature, it matures. You know, like when we started our business age 24, we didn't have any kids, and we were deeply like. I remember about a year into the business, I remember being caught driving without insurance, and I didn't realize it was a bad thing because I was such a dreamer.
It was only 2 days. You were only out.
It was a day. It was a day. It was actually one day. And I remember going to court, and I remember the judge asked me, what's your income? And I said, I get €7,000 a year. And he laughed, and everyone in the court laughed and said, you couldn't possibly live on that. And I was like, sure, I live at home. I love my job. I eat my food there. I don't do anything else. Like, it was like, and the purpose was so clear that it was about, you know, we measured success by how many people had, what was the vibe like, what was the buzz, what was the atmosphere, what was the sense of joy, how are we enjoying our life? And we were so committed to health, happiness, and community, and really nurturing this. And over the years, it's still the same in terms of the business, but I now have 3 kids. So my purpose is also to try to be a good role model for my kids, to evolve as a human, to be more sensitive.
It's also probably to try to be a good role model, like that I'm proud of myself, that I'm actually, that the influence we're having on people is positive, and we're a good example to people around.
And ultimately my purpose is, when I sit alone in the dark, do I feel comfortable with myself? And do I feel, when I go to bed at night, when I close my eyes and there's no distraction, do I feel content, a sense of joy, and a sense of gratitude? And if I do, boom, I'm winning.
Amazing. So for everyone listening now, where can they get more from you? Where can they connect with you? Where can they find you online?
Well, if you've got the internet and you just type in the Happy Pear, you'll find us on. We're on all this. We've loads. We've got, like, if you're interested in food, we've got about 500 free recipes on YouTube. They've got like 30-something million views. There's a lot of them there.
if you're after this pandemic, come visit us. We're here in Ireland. We swim in the sea at sunrise every day, and it's great.
Yeah,
Lewis, please come join us.
There's loads of people come visit when the world is open and whatnot. And we've got, if you're living in Ireland, we've lots of products, and we've online courses if you want to learn.
And we just released a new book.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that. Yeah, called the Happy Health Plan.
Yeah, really good. It's kind of all the learnings from having 50,000 people through the courses, so it's brilliant.
Amazing.
But thank you, Lou. Lovely chatting to you.
Yeah, man. We'll have to meet up for a swim in the sea one day. Look, you said earlier that one of your superfoods is laughter, smiling. This episode has got my diet off to a great start of the day. I think I've smiled the entire episode. So no, I appreciate you guys coming on. I really enjoyed the conversation. I hope you have too.
Oh, she's
absolutely
great. Really
great fun.
Really
great crack.
Thanks, Lewis. Thanks a million.